the interesting thing for this cycle is the 100 Bitcoin to 1,000 Bitcoin strata, and that's the kind of high net worth individuals and the smaller hedge funds. They actually bought tons of Bitcoins, and there's been an outlier bump, and that bump started around $30,000 in January. It was let me zoom in. I think okay. So that bump we saw with dolphins and sharks, 100 Bitcoins upwards, but not the whales, that started to climb after Tesla started buying Bitcoin. It was very interesting. So it's interesting in that when Elon Musk threw FUD, there was a lot of selling as well. But those guys didn't sell that much. They still hold a lot of supply. But overall, the trend is looking absolutely great. I'm asking Raoul at Glassnode, CTO over there, to do a little bit of extra work in the counts of these different holders to get the populations. And if I can get that data, then I can do run this thing called Gini coefficient across Bitcoin across the last 12 years, which is cool. That's a wealth distribution that economists use inside an economy. So we can start to calculate that once I get that data. I think they're working on it now. So that'll be really interesting, because from what I've seen, there's no other coin network that's even close to this level of distribution. It's a really strong argument. The distribution in Bitcoin is, it's super important, because if you control a lot of the asset, then it ceases to be, a decentralized network. It can be pushed around by, like gold. Gold failed because it was too centralized in holdings. The governments held it, they used it to back money. And then when those central entities lost control of their gold, mainly America, right? They lost control of the gold, and then they decoupled us from the gold standard, and now we've got fiat. So stuff, weird stuff can happen when you've got like large pockets of control of the coins. And so, Bitcoin's like amazing right now, what I'm seeing on chain. Very heartening.
Well, promising then. I was chatting to American Hodl yesterday. I gave him a call because me and him have a bet, another bet, half a Bitcoin on 300k over under. He's so super bullish, he's over and I'm under. I'm feeling pretty confident I'm going to win that bet, but you never know. End of the bull market, frothy times when things go crazy and supply shocks. And it's kind of, funny enough, it's kind of a bet I want to lose because, of course, for me, it'd be great if Bitcoin reached like 280 and then ended because I win the bet. But generally speaking, if we overshoot 300, I'll be glad to lose that bet. It'd be one.
What do you have to define the bet like? Because you can say end of the bull market, but
it's 300k under over midnight, 31st of December on Coinbase.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I think it's good to do lots of these bets because whatever you bet, you can hedge it on the options market and make a profit no matter which way it settles.
Yeah, we don't hedge though because we think it's a bit more fun not to hedge.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But you don't have to tell the other person, right?
I know. But I think me and him are going to just keep making these stupid bets. And he was laughing. He was like, I'm going to probably end up giving you like 5 Bitcoin over the next few years. I was like, if you keep making these bets you will. So, but I'm bullish.
It's always it's better to bet on the negative because, if you lose the bet, you're always going to be like happy. But either way, you're happy.
Yeah.
It's
well. So I was talking to my son about this. He was like, "What's going to happen this year?" I think I tell you who's pretty good at predictions is Pantera, and I think they've got it topping out about 115, 120. I do think 100 will be some weird psychological battle because I think there's some people who might be like, "Oh, if I sell 10 Bitcoin, I'll have $1 million, yada yada. I'll be a millionaire." And I think that, for just a number of reasons, will be a psychological battle. I could be wrong. We could just fly through it. I mean, remember 10K in 2017? We flew through it. It's absolutely possible.
I think that Pantera, didn't they use the stock to flow ratio as their prediction?
I don't know. I just got a chart in my email, but I'm thinking it's somewhere between 150 myself. I don't know if you're still thinking 300 is possible, but I'm like 150.
Yeah, I have this model, right, which is the band in which it floats with, and the upper bound, and all the past cycles we hit the upper bound before it ended. But of course, it's a moving target. So, I have this great, situation where I don't have to be exactly right because it's a moving target. I can keep adjusting it because it's just a model. The upper band today is $162,000, and we just don't know which trajectory. But the current trajectory is around. It's because of this major pullback, and it does run on the historic averages of the price movements. We're really.
Well, you just got to text me when we're done. Just say, "Look, Pete, we're done."
We're at 200K. I was just thinking, you got this bet, and if it was at the top of the bull market, I'm like going, yeah, that's contingent on a definition of the top of a bull market. If we just keep wandering upwards, like Dan Howell's super cycle. Dan Howell's super cycle is really, I think, we skip a cycle and we just go to the next. Well, if that actually happens and we go to the next, there's not going to be a next cycle because the halvening don't mean squat.
Someone said to me that one of the first bear markets was kickstarted by Mt. Gox, and that may have created a pattern for future years. And I don't know how much to read into that, but that was something somebody said to me. Look, but I don't care either way. You know what? What will be will be. I would just love, personally, this whole 4-year structure to break and things to become a little bit more, in some ways, I'm saying random, but a little bit more consistent as well.
Yeah.
Because it's just this if it becomes this predictable 4-year every 4 years, I find it a little bit boring.
Imagine 50 years and the, whatever it is, like the halvening goes from 0.1 Bitcoin, or like a block reward of 0.001 Bitcoin to 0.0005 Bitcoins. It doesn't mean squat to supply and demand on the system. You're not going to get a supply shock, It's really, you're going to be like, if Barry Silbert still controls like maybe by then 5% of the supply and he's chewing on his 2% per annum, the supply shock coming from him dumping on the market's going to pale to the supply dumped by miners, and so it just becomes demand and supply, and like this whether Mt. Gox created this 4-year cycle. If you look at how it has worked in the past, when the halvening happens, there's an impulse, a push, right? Because suddenly the constant supply and sell down of miners halve, and so it's a push one way. So the cycles are from the push, not the bear market. It's in this halvening where the price just is wandering sideways, and then it starts to gather steam as that collective push, sort of works its way into the system. So we get a shove every 4 years at a particular time, and then it moves up. Where it tops, it's anyone's business. I think maybe he's right. Maybe Mt. Gox was the cause of that top. Maybe 2017 was a top because that was the first major tax season. People didn't really figure out paying taxes in 2013. But in December 2017, I just had a lot of friends going, oh man, we've got to pay taxes, holy. And they had to sell a ton of their coins because they were flipping altcoins in that crazy 2017 era of, hundreds of X if you got the right coins. Crazy, crappy Verge coin, like people were making 100X over a few months. And I was like, oh, well, I know someone who bought a house from their Verge coin, and then they paid more tax than their than they had left at the end of the bear season. So 2017 top probably was a tax top. But, who knows what the next top is? I don't think there's going to be a well-formed FOMO bubble top anymore. Like, I want to just do a little bit more research into it. I'm starting to get some of the data behind it. Like, who are the sell pressure guys? Exchanges are, especially derivative exchanges. ETF management fees are. Miners are. We just have to get all of that together and then start to look at how those movements wander and how it compares to this 4-year sort of halvening drop. And I really think it's a minimal thing now. So
Things are
it'll be
changing,
really
man.
interesting to see.